Just want to mention and show this clip, Mondaire Jones explaining on the floor why passing H.R.1. This is a very, very comprehensive voting rights bill, anti-corruption bill that was actually passed in the last session of Congress. Of course, it expired, so it needs to be passed in this one. It died in the Senate, never even got a vote, as far as I recall. That will not happen this time. Whether it passes is another question. Whether this brings about filibuster reform is also another question. Here is Mondaire Jones, who is from freshman congressman from New York 17th, explaining why this is a crucial bill for American democracy.
Of foundational importance. We are, as you just described, experiencing in many parts of this country a new Jim Crow, where the modern day Republican Party has as its project not competing on the merits of its policy ideas, but the disenfranchisement of large swaths of the American electorate, like Black and Hispanic voters in southern states like Georgia and in Arizona. And so the For the People Act is common sense elections reform aimed at preventing the right to vote from being suppressed. It contains automatic voter registration, restrictions on voter purges, as you just described, public campaign financing so that we get better people elected to Congress who don't debate the need for $2,000 survival checks in the midst of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, and of course, independent redistricting commissions so that QAnon conspiracy theorists like Marjorie Taylor Greene cannot coast to victory in general election contests simply because they have prevailed in their primaries.
And later, Mondaire Jones on that same program says it's time for the Senate to make a choice, to finally provide some type of voting protection for people across the country and protection for our political system at large, revealing dark money, requiring states to have independent commissions for redistricting, cause tech platforms to disclose political advertising information. Finally, a code of ethics for the Supreme Court justices. They don't have one, incidentally. Restructure the Federal Election Commission so that it actually functions as opposed to just where it waves everything off, and more. And here he is basically saying it's time for the Senate to make a choice. Either pass this landmark legislation, incidentally, that it may benefit and help Democratic officials get elected, but it's certainly going to help democracy.
And I've got to tell you, if the Senate does not move on this, not only will many of the people who are blocking progress in the Senate, who ran on things like a $15 minimum wage and delivering $2,000 survival checks to the American people, not get reelected, but it will have a ripple effect throughout this economy. We will spiral further into devastation. And of course, we have to pass the Equality Act in the Senate, and we have to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and a transportation and infrastructure bill, which we hope to pass in just a few weeks. And so we have to make sure that we are doing the things that we ran on, not adhering to old norms that have no place in the 21st century, like the filibuster, the Jim Crow relic that prevented so much civil rights legislation a generation ago, is now being used once again to block progress for the American people.
And we should say Amy Klobuchar, who is the chair of the Senate Rules Committee, where that bill will first go, the H.R.1. And I imagine the George Floyd police reform bill, which gets rid of qualified immunity, as well as outlining some of the police tactics that are used. She yesterday, reportedly, according to Ari Berman, said that she supports ending the filibuster, at the very least, to pass the For the People Act, which is the H.R.1 and would be S1 in the Senate. So we will see.